Good morning to any replayers. Welcome, replayers. If you're a replayer, you can still participate. You can tap on the screen for hearts. You can, of course, share this broadcast. Hi, Annie. And you can also find me on Twitter or Snapchat. Hi, ZooUp20. If you find me on Twitter and Snapchat, those two platforms are actually amazing at communicating. Go Fefe, go. And I actually enjoy both of them quite a bit. Snapchat actually even more because of its interactive multimedia experience. So if you're new to me, my name is Joannazarach, coming in from a bright, sunny Chicago day. Good morning. I do a daily money habits broadcast at 10 a.m. every day from Chicago. Actually, I'm going to be taking the show on the road. Good morning, Cindy. And I will still be tuning in every day, guys, so while we are away, traveling across country. So why? Because we have the mobile ability to do so. I'm walking home, so if you're breaking up, hopefully I'll get on my stable, sometimes network. Here's the topic for today, though, something I've been thinking about. I want to talk to you guys about teamwork. And I think when it comes to finances, and a lot of people think about financial help or teamwork, a lot of professional services providers in finance talk about having a team. So this is not the team I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a team of hired professionals. Again, I strongly believe that a team of hired professionals is only appropriate if you're running a business that's generating 6 figures or more and on a growth trajectory to 7 figures, or if you already have multiple 7 figures, that's really when the cost is justified. So here's what I'm talking about, though, when it comes to teamwork and financial freedom. So one of the things that it occurred to me is that if you go it alone, you're going to miss out on things. You're going to miss out on multiple things. So let me address maybe 2 or 3 points when it comes to a team. So it just occurred to me today, and I've been thinking a lot about kind of relationships and where we are, not just the personal relationship, cash flow challenged, debt heavy, pre-investing stage. Find someone in that same situation, and together, and then look ahead, right? And so what you need is people to support you in your journey, and you need mentors. Mentors are usually best if they're just one level ahead of you. So these are people who just completed it. So like I always say, I'm really not that good at debt. I'm not that great at giving people advice on getting out of debt. Why? Because I have never been in debt. Like in terms of credit card debt, I've had student loans, but I paid them off a decade ago, right? So I'm always like, you need to find someone who's involved in that. I don't really know, but this is not I don't know what the person's talking about, because we're talking about money. Anyway, block. I'm like, one crazy comment, fine. 2 crazy comments, you're out. So find people in your, here's what you need to do. You need to start revealing your personal situation, your personal financial situation to other people. So other people that you trust, right? So, like sometimes even spouses don't talk to each other about money, right? Like money it's so much emotion tied up in it. And all I'm trying to do is break it down to some like this logical, rational number thing where it's like, it's a utility. Like take the emotion out of money, see it as a utility, make some goals, and then execute on it, right? And here's the tools. Here are the 5 or 6 tools. And again, my mission is to take people who are and again, I'm supporting people wherever they are in their financial journey. But this is, I'm here. I'm like, you have a good income plan, right? Take it. You have a good income plan. You're executing on it, and you need to get into the investing, the accumulation of assets phase. And I want people to be more aggressive about it, right? Like the advice that most people get is not gonna work. I mean, it's good. Yes, I think it's enough, but you need to decide where you want to live. And that's enough for a single guy. If you want to support a household, Lakeview, Yeah, you may need a roommate or studio. Like your housing is going to be your biggest expense, and especially in Chicago, you don't actually need a car if you live in Lakeview. I would recommend not getting a car. I think it's a burden if you're going to live in Lakeview and just use Uber. Like do the calculation. The cost of owning a car would be way more than like today. You have so much other alternatives. 70K would be fine, but just don't go all crazy on spending so much on housing. So that's it, and you can put a pretty chunk away. So yeah, that's my opinion. So like yeah, studio apartment or roommate in a larger place, and no car, and pay off your student loans, and don't get any credit card debt. It's just the basics. So that's but that's the premise. Housing with a roommate, if you can get a place like at 1,200, like 1,200 might be a stretch in Lakeview. I don't know the rental estate in Lakeview, but I think like if it's above 1,200, that's gonna just start consuming more of your income. I mean, if you're going over 1,500, I just feel like it's like, what are you getting from it, right? Like set your goal. I would be like, what's your goal for your housing, and then work backwards from it, and then like see the price range. That's my thought. 12 to 1,500, but I don't know the market in Lakeview. Like, I don't even know if you can get that for a one bedroom. I think so. But that's where I would go. So anyway, but have a team. So the point is, you need to have people in your life that you can have financial conversations with, like, and not just one. And here is the thing, you need to form these relationships, and you need to be attentive. Now, you have to be a giver in that relationship too. You need to listen to other people's concerns, and that's why I say match up with someone with similar things, because you don't want to hear somebody complaining about like how their nanny is a pain, or their cleaning service messed up again when you're in debt, right? Like, it makes you feel bad, and you're like, what the F are you talking about? But people's financial problems at any point in their life are real to them, right? Like, you have to make these trade-offs, and you have to make, you're maybe thinking about investing in real estate, and you're going, geez, like, how do I structure my this and that? And it's like, who do you talk to? And again, you're not going to be helpful if your expertise is not quite there. So yeah, again, find people with your same situation, and then start talking about it. Start talking about real money. Like, say, admit to them, say, look, I have $20,000 in credit card debt. Will you support me in trying to pay this off? Like, support me and encourage me, because it's not possible to just do it alone. And here's what I've done. I've always, been very open with my, with whoever my partner is. My husband, I've been married for almost 7 years. And, we have done a lot of financial conversations, not as many as I'd like, not as many as I'd like, because he's not as interested. Here's the other thing. Sometimes your spouse is not as invested in your money. They have just a different kind of, a different strength. But even in that sense, you need a team. You need someone to be on the team with you. You need to feel like you're on a team and you're working together. This is why a lot of people like working in an office environment or like in a regular job, because there is already this built-in team environment where you're not the only one doing it. Solopreneurship is really, really hard, because you sometimes feel like if you don't get it done, no one will. And same with finances. Finances don't go it alone. So you may find, and the mentors don't have to necessarily be people in your life that you are super connected with, right? So you may find one or two bloggers, right? Like, I actually look to financial bloggers, and I look to someone who's ahead of me. I call them like level 5 coaches, right? I look to someone like a Todd Tressler, and I talk about him, I think yesterday, even financialmentor.com. And I'm like, oh, that dude is ahead of me in in his journey. Like, he's way, we're kind of like in the 5 stages. We're the same stage, but he's ahead of me. Like, there's always someone ahead of you. And those people, you can still access their wisdom by reading. Like, he puts out a lot of content, right? So find someone who puts out content that's relevant to the next stage of where you want to be in terms of mentoring. But even if you can find someone in your family, and again, the challenge is, like, a lot of people don't want to talk about money. They don't like it. It's confusing. Like, they're not focused on it. And, there may be a time in your life that you're not focused on money either. There was times in my life I was not focused on money. Like, there was one time where I just relegated all financial responsibility to somebody else, and I focused on my job. That can happen, right? But, like, by focusing on my job, I was making a big income, right? So that's the thing. It may be like, open yourself up And you have to kind of offer, you have to raise your hand and say, I'm trying to achieve these things. Is anyone else around me interested? And you do that by talking about it, right? When you go and you're out with friends and just like, start a conversation that says, what do you think? I mean, do you guys have an IRA? Do you have a 401k? And people kind of get a blank stare, right? You're going to like feel it out, right? But they're like, oh yeah, do you invest in mutual funds? Like, what do you invest in? Like, start a conversation that maybe is just an open-ended question, and that'll give you a sense of how interested that person is. Like, anyone that asks a question or says something about money, like, I have this little antenna that goes, and I like go into the conversation. Not only that, but the conversations that I have obviously include like financial literacy and financial education. So I geek out. Oh my God, it's the worst, right? Like every time I'm like, oh, let's talk about it. I'm like, do you have this? Do you have that? And everyone's like, when do I sit down with you and we talk about my situation? I'm like, any time, right? And they're like, oh, well, then maybe I'll have a seminar. Because sometimes it's really intimidating to talk to just one person about money or reveal your financial situation. But if you have a small group of friends even and you initiate that conversation, say, I heard on this, I listened to this woman and she talks about money like all day. She never, like that's all she talks about. And here's something she said. Yeah, you don't, right? Like, so the blogs are good, but I just think that personal connection, I know I'm trying to make money rational, but it's still emotional. So find kind of the emotional support that you can have from someone who's like, I get you. Like, I get why you're doing this. And how are you doing on this, right? Like sometimes just someone who's asking a question without being prompted. That's why people hire coaches, right? They're like, I'm hiring someone who cares for money. Like, come on, let's care for each other, right? Like, let's care. Think about someone in your life that's, accountability, but also like compassion. Like, think about someone in your circle that's maybe trying to achieve a goal, and just ask them, say, hey, I heard you were trying to open an IRA. How's it going? Did you do it? Did you get it done? What's stopping you? Right? You empower yourself to be someone's financial coach, even if it's like at this stage. Yeah, right. Like even if it's at the early stage, because if you learn something and you accomplish something and they haven't done that yet, they can benefit from your guidance and your encouragement. And sometimes it's just encouragement. Like I literally, I'll have someone ask me, like people will message me on Facebook. Hey, I have this IRA and this is a true story. I have my IRA in State Farm. I don't know if they charge me these high fees. I don't know what to do. What would you do? I said, call Vanguard. I'm like, and you know what I did? I copied the phone number in my message because I love, I Googled it. I went on Vanguard's side. And then later that night, yes, of course. And then later that night, she says, I called Vanguard and they were so helpful. And I rolled over my IRA. And for years, she had the IRA in State Farm. They were charging her high fees and she would get angry about it, right? And I was like, that's all I did. I just gave someone a phone number and gave him a path. Say, hey, I do this. You go to Vanguard. This is where you're not going to get the fees. And she was able to act on it. And that's like, you know what? Every time she asks me a question, I'm going to give her an answer. Why? Because if you ask me the same question 10 times and I told you the same answer 10 times and you didn't do anything, then that's on you, right? But then I'll ask, I'll say, how did it go? Did you do your taxes? Did you fill it? I'm like, it's kind of rinse, lather, repeat, right? Like, did you set up your Mint account? Right? Every Monday, did you set up your Mint account? Right? And so even people who said, yeah, I was used to do it, but I don't anymore. I'm like, get on it, right? Get on it. So encouragement and education, it's like encouragement and education are just a really, really big part of this virtuous cycle, right? But I just really kept thinking about the teamwork aspect of finances and how this amazing guy who I was like, oh my God, he's like, I wish he was the grandfather of financial literacy movement, right? And he had this, it's a little bit, I think it came out in the 70s in terms of when he started. He was 31 when he retired. And he didn't have a ton of money. That's great. That's great, right? Like, and just really take, but this, your money or your life. And he was like, you go to work and you work so hard and for what, right? Like his whole point was to like be more present and living. And that's why he dedicated himself his entire life. He like never accepted money for giving people financial education, and he like eventually founded an institute, and he made this effort. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh my God, there already was a movement, right? But the movement died with him, which is so sad, right? And because it was before the internet, like before you could all leverage this presence. And so I was so happy that I found someone who had the same values freaking 20 years ago. And I'm like, oh my God, this message is getting lost, right? This message is getting lost in the noise. And then like even the steps, and I'm like, I thought of these steps, and I'm like, he thought of these steps, because none of these ideas are like, everything I do, I look to make sure I'm not just being wacky, right? I read other people who I trust, I take their nuggets, and then I incorporate it, and I sort of give it my own, yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, Lizette's been here for a while. Yeah, and so, so I have, I'm encouraged to see that there was this movement 20 years ago. I think we needed more than ever this move away from consumerism. I feel like we are, people are, like all the headlines around finances when it comes to personal finances are negative, right? The pension crisis, retirement crisis, student loan crisis, housing crisis, crisis. The amount of stress that we're creating by having just focusing on slightly, like on things that do not serve us, but cost money is just amazing. And the thing that I realized, and literally this morning I'm thinking, that if we all gave each other more attention. So here is what happens when you have a team of people you surround yourself with when it comes to goals of any kind, is that you take away time from consuming. And you have to be, yeah, it is, because you know what, there's a lot of profit to be made, guys. Like, I always kind of chuckle when I say this, because I'm a business consultant, right? I was a corporate consultant, and there are decisions that are made specifically for profitability of the shareholders. And so, like, I feel like I'm like, I crossed the ranks, I crossed over, I crossed to the wrong side, because the purpose is to separate people who earn money from their money that they earned, to make profit for the shareholders, the capital owners. See, the people who already have money want to make more money. A lot of strikes, and it's because, like, it just doesn't serve anybody for the capital owners to have more capital. Like it really doesn't. It's not good. Like, it's not good for them. And people just get really caught up in this, like bigger is better, like more is better, and it's not good. That's why, that's why I'm like, no, like, we need a shift. But this crisis mentality, yeah, that's the goal of business. It's again, but if we engage with each other, so here was the thought. I said, if we pay more attention to each other, like really be present in the moment. And again, you're like, what does that have to do with finances? Because if you can really do that, if you can engage with a person around your financial goals, you're not as tempted. You're not shifting your attention to that shiny thing. Oh, well, I don't have anybody in my life to hold me accountable to talk about it, so I'm just going to go buy something. I'm just going to watch entertainment. I'm going to consume content that's going to get me to buy something. I mean, the amount of, even like in the entrepreneur world, right? It's all about buying things. It's all about selling and buying and getting people to spend money. And you're like, but what if you just take the time to like pay attention to someone and like really be with them? And because there's no leverage, right? There is no leverage, right? Retail therapy, and there's just a lot of psychology that goes into it, right? And my sort of like my cognitive psychology and neuroscience background, there's a lot of psychology goes into it. But take the time to really focus on someone else. Yeah, I don't, I don't even go to, like, I go to a grocery store only, but everything else I just get shipped to my house. So because then it's just like, you're not browsing. And we're going to be going through the like art of the joy of tidying up, the condo, uh, the KonMari method. Hi, how are you? To reduce our stuff. But I just stopped buying things because I was doing that too. I was like, oh, I need something. I need something. But what I really need to do is connect with people. But oh yeah, the point was you're connecting with an individual. The connection can't be leveraged. Yeah, I can't wait because then I can actually show you guys my condo without the mess. But you know that human connection cannot be leveraged. It cannot be sold. There is no profitability in supporting each other. And so, yeah, exactly, right? Yes, bring people along, right? This is the thing where I was like, oh, I could just tell people how. I'm like, this is why are people stressed? And it doesn't mean I'm not stressed. I'm just stressed about other things, right? And like, and I have a lot of pressure too. I get sold to as well. I get sold a lot of different messages. Everybody gets sold to, right? Um, I get sold to by people who would like to get access to my money, like professional teams, right? Professional services, and you kind of get made feel bad because I still do stuff by myself. Like, why don't you just hire people? I'm like, well, then I'd spend all my money. It is really hard. It is really hard, but you know what? It's getting easier. Here is why. Periscope is one. Snapchat. It's just people are putting more of themselves out there, and where the barriers are collapsing. Like before, you maybe had to look around you, like maybe your workplace, like you had limited access to people that were like-minded. But now you are able to seek them out and searching them. This is why I love Twitter, by the way. So I was not a Twitter user for a long time. Do you know what I really discovered and loved about Twitter? Finding my tribe. And really, it's like personal finance, like I follow like 500 personal finance people. Do you know what happens when a really good piece of financial blog comes out or financial news? My Twitter feed is filled with the same goddamn retweet. Because everyone's going, oh, this is really good, right? This is how you know you found your tribe. Yeah, I have, right, like people sell you crap you don't need. I mean, I get sold to all the time. I just get sold like, even stuff in the mail comes up. I'm like, no, I will never buy a BMW. Keep sending me crap. Why are you wasting the environment's, the cardboard that you're printing on it? People try to sell you things. Freaking the Honda dealerships keeps trying to get me to buy a new minivan. I own a minivan. I'm proud because I have children. And they're like trying to get me to buy a new minivan. I'm like, my minivan's like 4 years old. Why would I need to, they're like, trade it in, and it's like making it feel like it's such a good deal. And I'm like, perfectly good car. So, but that's the thing. So the other thing about the team and the goal, and I have to go in a minute. Oh, I have to go. I'm waiting. I have a work call. So if I drop off immediately, it's because I actually need to go. Okay, so I'm wrapping up. But anyway, get on a team. Don't be a team of one because there is a fee to pay. One is you get discouraged. Two, you don't know everything. And three, when you have to explain your ideas on what you're doing and how it works, you're going to get deeper in your own understanding of your financial goals and your financial aptitude. Your financial abilities will increase when you have to explain it to somebody. So take the time. Find someone find someone sort of in your situation to start holding each other accountable and go through a journey together. Find a mentor, and then finally be a mentor, right? Be a financial mentor, because when you talk about it, and I think women are better at this. Women have more ability to not be so competitive and with each other talk about it because we are the tribe builders. So with that being, thank you guys so much. I have got to run because I have a work call coming up. I will see you guys tomorrow. We're getting on the road today, so no money matters. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys' attention and your encouragement and the hearts and sharing. Thank you. I will see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. from, I don't know, Ohio or something. So I will looking forward to it. Okay, bye guys. You too.